Pleased to announce that under our leadership, the federal government will be surging housing solutions to the state that go beyond mere temporary hotel stays that ended up being very short term. The government wouldn't do it any longer, which is ridiculous. We'll marshal all available resources to bring back potable water and make your water and infrastructure dramatically more reliable very quickly. Today, I'll also be signing an executive order slashing all red tape and bureaucratic barriers and permits to ensure the rapid reconstruction of the roads here in western North Carolina. We're going to go through a permitting process that's called no permitting, just get it done. That's the way they built them many years ago, I guarantee you that, right?
The people of North Carolina are finally about to get the help that they need, the help they deserve. And I am like over the moon. I am ecstatic right now. I am so grateful that finally these people's voices are being heard. For those of you all who don't know, I'm sure most of you all do, I covered this situation. I covered this story for months. I mean, 2 or 3 months straight covering nothing but news from the devastation of Hurricane Helene. And no matter what we did, and it wasn't just me, it was like no matter what people did, help was just not sent. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, talking until I'm blue in the face, putting out video after video after video. Other people were doing the same. All types of people from all around America were ringing the alarm, but it fell on deaf ears. Don't get me wrong. You all heard, you all knew it was going on, but the people in positions to help, the people who were literally supposed to help, whose job it is to help, they weren't listening. And right now, even though I'm really happy, I'm also disgusted. And I don't want my happiness and my gratefulness to overshadow how disgusted I am, especially with the media. Not just with the last administration. We'll get to that in just a moment. But I am extremely frustrated with the media. Because where was the media all of this time? Where? None of these mainstream news outlets were talking about this story. They were not covering this story. They did not care about the people of North Carolina. Outside of maybe News Nation, people like Brian Enton, outside of them, no one was talking about what these people were going through. But now all of a sudden, for the first time since the storms came, all of these mainstream networks are right there in North Carolina, where they should have been this entire time. They're right there in North Carolina to cover Donald Trump coming to North Carolina. Isn't that odd? I mean, it's been months since the storm. The mainstream media, these media outlets should have been out there the next day, but they were MIA because they didn't care about the people who were affected, because they felt like the people who were affected the most were people who supported Trump. So the mainstream media never went out there. In fact, the mainstream media worked against people like me, who was trying to get the truth out there about what these people were going through. The mainstream media worked against people like me, refused to go out there and see the devastation for themselves, refused to cover the devastation. But now that Trump's out there, they're out there to record Trump, to cover whatever Trump says, so they can try to twist his words and do whatever. Because they're embarrassed, because Trump's only been president for 4 days, right? It's been about 4 days. And already he has done more for the people of North Carolina than Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or that administration, right? They had the reign. They were in office for months and could have helped the people of North Carolina. They refused. It's not like they overlooked it. It's not like they were unaware of the problems. They refused to help those people. But like I said, now they're getting a voice. Now the help that they've been needing, it's on the way. And as Trump was out there, he turned over the microphone to some people who have been out there experiencing all of this. And they've been saying, for months now that FEMA never came. No one ever showed up to help these people. It was the citizens helping each other. But I want to go ahead and roll this news clip. Let's listen to a little bit of this, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
I'm a pastor Nix, our church right down the road. We had only purchased in May, and it's a big church. We're a small congregation, and I had people say, "What are you going to do with this big building?" And I said, "Only God knows." And we had our dedication, and the storm came the next week. And the outpouring of people, my son brought the first load of supplies, and from there, I stayed there for about 3 months. I slept on the floor for about 3 weeks because the need was so great. The people were so devastated, and I said, I want to be here for them. And they were coming in just day and night, so there's really no need for me to go home. But we had people from Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Indiana, Oklahoma, people from all over. We have not received any help, like from the government or anything. But I said, Lord, if you want us to do that, people.
So they came from
all over the states.
But FEMA did nothing.
It was the locals.
Wasted time and money.
The locals and the people that knew us. And before the week was over, our church was so packed with supplies we couldn't even walk. Even in our sanctuary, it was up to the platform of things, and in our halls and in our rooms, and we're just now beginning to get a little straightened out. But somebody said, "How long are you going to be here?" I said, "I'm going to be here through the winter and even on, if possible," because when you meet people that's been through the struggle. I had a little lady come up, and I said, "Can we do anything special for you?" And she said, "I don't want to be selfish, but said, could I have a cup of coffee?" And I handed her that coffee, and she stood there, and tears just poured. She said, "You don't realize how important the little things. It's not the big things in life that we have, but it's the little things, and knowing that God is our source. I don't look to man. I don't have to have a lot of things. I had trees, about 20 trees down in my yard, but that didn't really matter. Doesn't matter, because the needs of the people is what I want to be there for. God is good. He's very good. And my daughter now, her house is really in bad shape.
You know, people are going to say what they want to say about Trump, and that's okay. But the reality is, the way I look at it, this dude is getting stuff done. He has made good on his promises. He has kept his promises. And he's actually doing what he said he was going to do, more so than any other president I've ever had in my lifetime. And it's only been 4 days. In 4 days, this man has done more than I've seen any other president do in my lifetime. And that's with their full time in office. And Trump promised the people of North Carolina that he would not forget about them, that they would be one of his priorities. And you know what happened today? They tried to load Trump up, and they wanted to take him to California to look at all of the devastation in California, because they want him focused on that. Because, you know, there's a lot of rich people who lost their homes and stuff in that fire. So they wanted Trump to prioritize that. Hey, come feel bad for all of us in LA. And Trump said, hold on 1 minute. No. We're not going to look at the LA fires. We're not going to California until I make a stop in North Carolina. Because North Carolina was the top of his priorities. He made the promise. He kept the promise. And now, from what he says, there's going to be a lot of funding coming into North Carolina, and he's cutting out FEMA. FEMA's the middleman. You fund FEMA, and then Lord knows what happens to the money. I kid you not, when this storm hit, everyone was waiting on Biden or Kamala or someone to do something. You want to know what they said? They said, "Oops, sorry. FEMA ran out of money. We have no money for you guys." That's what they said. And then the next day, literally, I kid you not, they sent billions of dollars to Ukraine. They told the people of North Carolina that FEMA ran out of funds to help them with the hurricane, Very next day, they sent billions of dollars to Ukraine, never cared about the people, never helped the people. They're still out there sleeping in tents. The cleanup process isn't even over. And heartbreakingly enough, they're still missing people whose bodies they never found. They're not even looking for them anymore. It's bad, folks. It's bad. But hopefully, now some help's going to be coming. Because like I said, FEMA, Trump said, hey, the funding's coming directly from us. And he's talking about getting rid of FEMA altogether. And I agree. He should. Because one thing that all of these stories have in common that I've been covering on these channels is that 9 times out of 10, FEMA's involved. And when they are, it's always a show. It's always, oh my God, if you've been watching my channel, it's just all of this trauma from all of these other stories. It's coming back to me because FEMA screws everyone over all the time in every situation, just like they screwed over the people of North Carolina. And Trump has to directly get involved, and he has to directly send the funding and get FEMA out of the way because FEMA, and this was all over the news, regardless if you try to deny it or not, it was exposed that FEMA was purposely not helping Trump supporters. If they knew that someone voted for Trump, if they lived in an area where they thought people voted for Trump, if they had a Trump sign, any of that, FEMA was directed not to help them. And that's facts. It's all been exposed. So that's where we're at right now. I do think we should get rid of FEMA, and hopefully these people in North Carolina they're going to start getting help finally, months after the storm, because now we have a president that gets stuff done instead of whatever we had for the last 4 years. But you guys let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.